Africa. So PEN America is one of the biggest centers of PEN International. We're based in New York, and I'm very happy today to partner with Ray on this workshop about digital and online security. So I'm here just to give you the introduction before Ray is taking the lead to really go into very practical, simple tactique for us to use and be more aware and protected online. So as we know, new digital technology are transforming the art world. Social media and music streaming channels like Facebook, Instagram, and SoundCloud are becoming the platform by which artists publicly display and promote their work. However, these platforms are also generating an array of threats to artists' rights and freedom of expression. These threats can come from a variety of sources: state government seeking to surveil and censor online spaces, trolls seeking to intimidate artists into silence and self-censorship, hackers seeking to undermine and suppress artist content and data, and more. So the Artist at Risk Connection, sorry for that, or ARC, is a project of PEN America. We seek to safeguard the right to artistic freedom by connecting imperial artists to a global network of resources and partners that can assist them. And many of you are partner of ARC and are part of the network and provide those very important resources for the artists facing threats. Since inception, so like Mike, I'm a really new project. We started in late 2017, so it's a global project. We have connected over 180 artists from over 50 countries to service including emergency fund, relocation program, legal assistance, and so. So a large and ever-growing number of our cases revolve around issue of digital and online security. Artists are surveilled or attacked online. All their online content is used against them in courts of law. Because of this, our practices have increasingly turned to issue of digital security, and we strive to stay abreast of trends and equip artists with the means to stay safe online or mobile spaces. So in 2017, PEN America released a report named Forbidden Feeds, Government's Controls on Social Media in China. So it was a case study on China, and we laid bare the Chinese government's grip on free expression. The report identified 3 ways that China has expanded its grip over social media. And China is becoming a model for those authoritarian regimes who wants to curtail freedom of expression online. So these 3 ways is like, the first is technological. Chinese authorities are continually developing and fine-tuning their ability to censor censorship online, to access the private information, and to interfere with and surveil private communication on social media platforms. The second is legal. Under Deng Xiaoping, China has enacted a raft of new laws and regulation enlarging the legal framework for its control of the internet, while centralizing power over social media in the hands of the high-level decision makers. The third, and perhaps the most important, is ideological. Control of social media is an essential part of China's cyber sovereignty model, a vision that rejects the universalism of the internet in favor of the idea that each country has the right to shape and control the internet within its own border. Examples of Chinese artists that ARC and PEN America have worked with are constantly growing. Even we are like what Daniel was mentioning, are we banned? Yes, I mean, like, for example, the website, the ARC website can't be accessed in China, can't be accessed in Cuba. We are banned in several countries. But the artists find us in another way. So we work with a Hui poet who shared writing critical of the government and articles about Hui disappearance and re-education camp. Is perennially intimidated both online and in person by Chinese security forces who have told him to stop using his Twitter and Facebook account. Baidu Cao is another Chinese prominent political cartoonist and visual artist who is living in exile in Australia, has had his social media channel shut down at least 37 different times by Chinese authority. So even in exile, Chinese government find him and shut down. And we have noticed also the same thing with the Iranian government, who can go to places that where people were thinking they would be safe, like the US, and can threat artists living in the US on their family, on social media. It's really a way for them to get to those people. So, just to give you kind of this overview with what we did on China, I think we have seen that China's growing digital censorship machine is of particular relevance also, you know, with what's happening in the rest of the world, because it has created, you know, a model for authoritarian regime of cyber sovereignty. While China is one of the most extreme examples of the state surveillance and harassment of artists in digital and online space, the issue is increasingly prevalent in numerous countries. The idea of cyber sovereignty has been touted in places like Russia, Vietnam, Iran, and there have been countless examples of countries that have exercised control or completely shut down the internet in times of crisis and to suppress dissent. Such examples include, most notably, Egypt during the Arab Spring, and more recently, internet and communication blackout in Kashmir, Iran, not long time ago. And similar instances have also occurred in Congo, Zimbabwe, Myanmar, Sudan, Venezuela, Indonesia, and more and more. So, additionally, China is not the only country that has begun a training control of digital and online space. In Myanmar, a robust and sweeping telecommunication law authorized criminal penalties for those who use telecommunication network to extort, threaten, obstruct, defame, disturb, inappropriately influence, and intimidate. A conviction under the law can lead to up to 3 years imprisonment. The number of cases brought under the article of this law, the Article 66, has risen sharply under the current government, and human rights advocates and legal experts have increasingly warned that Article 66 is being used as a tool to crack down on political expression. We have worked recently with a filmmaker, a Burmese filmmaker, Min Go Chin, and as he was like facing, you know, a charge against for this law, and he was given a year of imprisonment for Facebook, you know, post. So we have seen also that similar law enacting throughout East Asia and Eurasia. I think Bangladesh has also this telecommunication. The ICT law in Bangladesh has also curtailed a number of artists. So security concern and threats to artists in the digital space do not only stem from state actors. In 2017, PEN America conducted a survey of over 230 journalists and writers, and we found that 67% of respondents has experienced a severe reaction to being targeted by online harassment, including refraining from publishing their work, permanently deleting their social media accounts, and or fearing for their safety or the safety of their family. Hateful, violent, and threatening language perpetrated against artists in online space is only just the beginning to garner the recognition it deserves in conversation about freedom of expression. I'm talking about a survey made in the US. So that was like American journalists reacting to that. So we feel that they might feel more protected. So in response to the finding of the survey, we launched an online harassment field manual, and I really like you to look at it because I think we could put this one on different and look at different countries. It's in the effort to give writers and journalists a direct resources with tools, tips to help them respond safely and efficiently to incidents of online harassment and hateful speech, and to encourage them to stay online and to keep speaking out and to keep writing. A large number of requests for urgent assistance that we receive deal with online harassment in some capacity with ARC, and this we're talking about requests for assistance that we receive from artists all over the world. And most of them would tell us they have faced online harassment. So artists who receive death threats often receive them via social media platforms. Example includes a documentary filmmaker who fled to Jordan from Iraq after receiving social media death threats because of a film he made about the Yazidi people. A Sri Lankan feminist writer who had doctored graphic photos depicting a military body posted on a social media account. And an Egyptian writer in exile in the US whose family received threats after he shared an article critical to the regime on his Facebook. Early this year, Free Muse published an expansive report outlining the way that online spaces have become breeding grounds for gender threats and abuse directly, specifically at women and women artists. Today, so Ray is going to lead this workshop that will present practical tools to keep artists safe in digital and mobile space from trolls, hackers, and other hostile forces. We are conducting a digital security assessment on our own practice. We wanted to look at what we're doing internally, how can we be better, how can we be better also with the organization we were sharing information. And we found many areas for improvement, which we have since tried to implement, both in our practices and in the practice of our partners and the artists we work with. Such implementation include the use of Signal in place of WhatsApp or other messaging platform, and the use of Wire, which is an encrypted communication and collaboration app with robust security system. It's a really end-to-end encrypted system who has not been yet. Other recommendations included the use of a password generator to avoid passwords that reuse similar form, and password manager to avoid insecure storage of passwords. So I think passwords are key, and Ray will talk about it later. So there are just a few examples of many steps artists and those working to defend them can take to ensure formidable security in digital and online space. So without further ado, I'm happy to introduce Ray Joseph, a seasoned journalist with decades of experience in media, and who will dive further into best practices for creative to follow when communication via social, via cell phone and online spaces.
So basically, we don't have a lot of time, and I don't want to overwhelm people. So what I've produced is a Google document with very simple advice that I'm going to ask the organizers to share with you. My best advice to you, find a techie who's a friend. Because sometimes we can't work out simple stuff. Our brain doesn't work like that. But your best friend is a techie, and if something goes wrong, 101 reboot. So, my question is, how many people here have their laptops password protected? How many people here have their mobile phones password protected? How many people have a double password and a fingerprint? So, the point I'm making is just because people say you're paranoid doesn't mean they're watching us. I personally have been through a really terrible time recently. I've been investigating corruption in the South African lottery and ended up being the chairman of the board of the lottery admitted that also the intelligence agencies, they believed we'd hacked into their computers. They'd never heard of whistleblowers. And so I take probably more precautions than most people, But the other thing I want to say to you is it's not only your own security. You have resident on your phone, on your laptop, something that can get someone else into trouble. And I don't think people think about that. They're too busy protecting themselves, you know, and practicing safe digital security as important as safe sex. It's you know, there is no compromise on it. So as I say, the documents, I'll share the link. My advice to you is if you do use the document, I regularly update. So rather than download, it's always best to go to the link because you'll get the updates. But it's just as easy if you want to download. And please feel free to share. So it's not a pretty document, it's a straight Google Doc. Which I downloaded in case there were Wi-Fi problems. That's my other advice. If you're ever presenting at a conference, make sure you've got a download. Don't rely on the internet. At any stage, please stop me, I am. Please ask questions. The only dumb question you can ask is the one that you don't ask. There is no dumb question. So, make sure that your phone is locked. I recently was pickpocketed in Cape Town, and it happened so quickly. I realized it happened, and it was over. The person was gone. So on my phone was some pretty sensitive stuff. So my immediate default with it, so first of all, they had to crack the phone. They had to get past a password and a fingerprint. But they can do that. It's possible to do that. So what I then did is I went online, so backup. I hope everyone here backs up often and regularly and thoroughly, both your phone and your laptop. I went straight online and I just wiped everything off my phone. So it might sound extreme, but yeah, I don't know where my phone was going to end up. I was insured, I got a brand new phone, and it took me 10 minutes and I was up and running. My phone looked exactly the same as it looked before, with my WhatsApp, with my everything. So consider doing that. So we've got multiple, we talk about password generators, we talk about keeping them in a safe place. I would recommend, so how many of you people are lazy? Sorry, that's rude. Take the lazy way about it, and when you put a password in Google, say, shall I remember this password? And many people say yes. So what happens is if you go into your settings on Chrome, and it's there everywhere, and go and look at password management, your password's all there. So anyone who gets into your laptop sees all your passwords. So I use, so everything I'm talking about here is free. For Chrome, there's a thing called Bitwarden, which is a really secure, it's heavily encrypted, lives on your phone, it lives on your phone, it lives on your laptop, and you have one secure password on that. Now, passwords are a problem to remember. I use a long phrase with words out of a song that I know, and along the way I've added arbitrary figures in the middle of it. And all I've got to remember, so the phrase is easy to remember, and all I've got to remember is where I put the numbers, and I've worked out a system. So to get into it, if I need a password, and of course we don't use the same password, right, for everything. Really? Banking? So the problem with using the same password is people then start searching for your identity across networks. Facebook, Twitter, whatever. And in a case of an artist, and I've seen it happen with others where their account has been compromised, so you don't get hacked. You get gained into giving up. Very hard to hack. And suddenly these posts start appearing that are not in your name, from the embarrassing where someone gets in and starts posting porn all over the place in your name. There was a phase when that was happening. But now imagine when they start attacking other people, start attacking governments, start attacking fellow artists. So really don't use the same password. Now, with this Bitwarden, they do not keep a record of your password anywhere. So, put it in a safe place. If you lose it, you lose what's inside there. So that is part of their security. Hand on heart, we don't know your password. So no one can get in there and steal passwords. Set a secure password. So, don't use password. Don't use birth dates. So the thing about a birth date is, certainly in South Africa, your ID number begins with your birth date. And if you know a person's birthday, and then you can just start playing, work out an age, start playing with the year. It doesn't take very long to start cracking it. So very often as an investigative journalist, when I'm searching for company records and that, one of the first things I go for is someone's birthday. Their ID number is first prize, but I go for a birthday. Because the chances of two people with the same name being born on the same day are highly unlikely. I take other steps to confirm I've got the right person, so stay away from birthdays. A, B, C, D, E, F, G, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. The other dumb one is password. So if you're going to keep passwords on your laptop in a folder, don't call the password, don't call the folder password. Because that's the first thing I'm going to search for. So it's really basic, simple stuff. And of course, don't ever share your passwords with anyone, although the one person who I've given access to my phone is my wife. So if anything ever happens and I've got nothing to hide from her in my phone. I've got to hide from others, I've got from her. Others listening to me. Tech support.
What's wrong?
It's not on the screen in front of you, it's part of the plot. So, thank you very much. How often do people here update the operating system on their phone? You need to do it. So what you should do is if you go into the settings and you'll find the operating system, set it to auto-update, but only on Wi-Fi, otherwise it's going to eat up all your data. But they, so what's happening all the time is people with ill intent are working to get in through backdoors with operating systems. At the moment, Android, Apple finds out about it, they put out a security patch, and they're constantly updating to make it more stable. It makes no sense not updating your operating system. It's free, it's quick, it's easy, but as I say, do it only over a Wi-Fi connection. So I'm now going into where we're going into more difficult situation. So I have a thing, a burner phone. It's one of these really cheap phones. If you lose it, it's gone. In South Africa, for the South Africans, you all know about RICO, where a SIM card has got to be registered. You can actually buy a registered SIM card on the street corner, by the way. And I have a phone with an unregistered SIM card that I use for sensitive phone calls. It's got no internet access. It can send and receive SMSs and make calls. And that's the one that I use. If you're going into a sensitive meeting, remember now we're not only protecting ourselves. Leave your smartphone at home. Before you get there with your burner phone, with your $5 phone or your 100 Rand phone, before you get there, pull the battery out. So the phone is dead. Go into the meeting with it, so that your phone doesn't become an enemy unknowingly to you. So some of this might sound extreme and may not relate to everyone here, but there will come a time. So connect to secure Wi-Fi only. I'm very wary of airport Wi-Fi in the middle of a shopping center. So if you come to a place like AFNA, I would expect them to have security built in because they don't want their system compromised. But cheap can be very, very expensive. Never do banking or sensitive communication over public Wi-Fi. I mean, that's 101. And there's some simple tips about how you can stay safe on public Wi-Fi. I'm not going to go into that, we really don't have time, but this is built as a takeaway that you can work through in your own time. Beware of downloads. Free often comes with potential security problems. And read carefully before you download something what permissions they're asking for. Because sometimes they want to catch all, and the real question you need to ask is, do I really need it? The wrong question to ask is, do I want it? Do I really need it? So a lot of those Facebook IQ tests and what you're going to look like in 10 years' time, those aging. So what they do there is you're giving them personal information. And in fact, the one around age turned out to be a bunch of Russian cyber gangsters who were collecting personal information. You know, if you've got to log into something to do one of those, don't do it. But rather don't do it anyway. You know, you're not going to learn about your IQ on some dumb app on the internet. Before you do an app, just Google for user feedback. So name of app reviews, because very quickly you'll start picking up the dodgy ones. And wherever possible, only download apps from the Google Play Store, from the Apple Store, from the Huawei Store. It's in their own interests to watch out for bad apps. And they're regularly throwing them out. It's not a guarantee. It's really not a guarantee. It's like a condom that can fail. It's not a guarantee, but you far more, I'm sorry to keep using the sex analogy, but that's exactly what's going on here. You really need to take those precautions. So most people here wouldn't know how to do this, but they got techie friends. if anyone ever offers to help you kind of got to operate in an area with people I am with, I'm trying to communicate with, but my default with a source, with a whistleblower, is I give them a 101 on encryption, but I also ask them to go to Signal, to download Signal. Like WhatsApp, it's encrypted. Unlike WhatsApp, it doesn't belong to Facebook. And I don't trust Google or Facebook, faced with the authorities bullying them and trying to convince them I've done something wrong, not to hand over my stuff. So I use Signal more than WhatsApp, but unfortunately, it's mainly media people. I would urge artists to start using Signal. It's safe. What you can also do with Signal is you can set it, and I've got a tutorial here that will automatically delete after a certain time messages on your phone. And you can set sensitive messages. Once they finish, they're gone. Once you've absorbed them, so that you're not sitting there. And those of you who are from the States, those of you who travel to the States, you know what's going on with Homeland Security. They want access to your social media. So if you use WhatsApp, set it on auto backup. It backs up to your Google Drive. Again, Google Drive is on your mobile, on your laptop. Make sure your laptop is secure. It's this virtuous circle of securing everything. And you also need to set the frequency of the backup and the Google account it backs up to. And then also set it to only backup over Wi-Fi. Otherwise, data, so maybe some of you come from countries where data is cheap. Most of us in Africa don't know what cheap data means. In fact, poor people are often spending as much, if not more, on data and communications as food. They're giving up food for phones. Really delete sensitive messages you no longer need. Again, we're going back to, it's not only your own security, and we also have a duty to protect people from themselves. If someone is assisting us, so I'm talking as a journalist, but I'm sure you can think of circumstances where people are very naive. We need to protect them from themselves. So what I do when I'm going to a sensitive area is I delete all my WhatsApp and my Signal. So I backed it all up. I clean it off. I delete it from my phone. It no longer exists. When I come out again, I reinstall and I just install. The other thing about a mobile phone, and why I'm saying use a dumb phone, use a burner. God, what was the name of the Sunday Times journalist who was killed in Syria, Maria Clancy? She was killed because a photographer who was in their group took their smartphone into the area, was on roving, and the Syrians tracked down the phone. I mean, they pinpointed where the journalists were. They actually had the exact location, and that's why they took them all out in one shot. So again, you know, it's nice to have your smartphone with you, and it's nice to have great internet access, it's nice to have all that. Just make sure what you're carrying on your phone. So what I do when I'm going into a sensitive area, I back up constantly and I just clean my phone. That's it, I'm going in with a clean phone. Back to factory sessions, the settings, and then when I come out again, I just reinstall and I got my phone again. So, I repeat, just because you think you're being paranoid doesn't mean that you're not being watched. It's absolutely true in this day and age. So we recently learned, because of the scam in South Africa, of a thing called a grab, made by an Israeli company, and it's now the subject of a huge corruption and selling and all kinds of stuff. But literally what this machine does is it literally grabs all communications in a certain area that can be up to a few kilometers, and then what you've got are keyword searches. It might be terror, it might be bomb. So those are the obvious ones, but there's certain words, and there's nothing you can do to stop it. This is highly sophisticated software. So install antivirus software. So again, we poor artists. I, by the way, pay for my software. It's one of the very few. When I do training, I do a lot of fact-checking training. I only use free tools to trade with, but I pay for my antivirus software. It's actually quite cheap. It costs me 300 South African rands a year. It's about $20 a year. It's a really good one. But otherwise, search for reviews from credible tech sites, recommendations of antivirus software in terms